Hi, everybody.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Welcome to this is episode 52.
52.
Kind of crazy. Okay, so we have a little bit of a heavy topic today, but it is something that we've talked about in some of our TikTok videos and got a lot of feedback about. So today we're going to be talking about grief, but for pets and like what bereavement looks like when you lose an animal that's part of your family.
Right, and the main reason I posted that shit on TikTok when I did was because I think it's something that it's interesting. I've had clients come in or even my friends that and my sister was the same way that it's not talked about enough. It's like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
lost your dog." It's like it becomes this casual
Hmm.
thing and then it just not talked about again. And I remember my sister saying that, yeah, like the first day people were like, "Oh yeah, that sucks. I'm so sorry." And then nobody's been like, "Hey, how are you doing without your animal that's part of your life for your
Right.
whole life or for 10 years or with her horse 30 years, right?"
Right.
And it's so interesting that for humans we do that. Like, "Hey, checking in on you. Lost your mom 2 months ago. Still checking on you." But for animals, I wonder why we just don't do that.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a matter of that people in general view like animal life as not as impactful, maybe. But what I like to talk about with this topic is just how animals and pets in your home and in your life, like they're literally part of every part of your day. So it's just like it is like losing a loved one who is very ingrained in your life. You get up in the morning, you take your pets out, or you let them potty and you feed them and you change their water and you pet them and they sleep with you. So to have that carved out of your life suddenly, like, how is that not going to be hard?
It's like there's a trigger every moment when you lose an animal.
Yeah.
Like from one of my clients who literally was just processing this. It's like she literally even said because it wasn't actually her dog, it was her partner's dog.
Oh,
And then they've been together the last 3 years though, but she was like, "I actually didn't even think I was that attached to the dog until we had to put the dog down." And she's like, "And then I got home and the dog's gonna greet me at the door and I started crying. And I
yeah.
dropped food and tapped my foot on the food and I started crying." And you realize how many moments that they're in your life for the little things. And then she's like, and then it hit me. Like, I miss this dog more than I was even
Yeah.
knowing, no? And I think it's those little triggers of your day to day
Yeah.
and your emotional support. It's just like animals are there for so much shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think of like my older dog and just how many transitions in my life he has been a part of and how many connections I've made between him and people and how many times I've moved with him and how many houses
Right.
I've lived in and like it's crazy to think about that would be a whole chapter of my life that I wouldn't have him for anymore when the time comes, like the parts of my life that he would miss out on. And that's sad to think about especially when you have older pets. You and I both have dogs that are a little bit on the older
Uh,
side.
I just
Sad,
literally, you just made me sick when you just said that.
right?
Don't say, I don't want to see, I don't want to accept that. I'm like, why would she say that?
But I mean, yeah, and it's
It's
true, but it's
true.
true. It's true, and it is sad, but when you think about like just you and I, like our two older dogs
Oh my God.
have been through so much with us together and they've grown up together
Yeah.
just to look back on like a decade of our life where they've been part of it. Like we used to take them to the beach together, when they were little. And it's
Hmm.
like so crazy to think about that just like moving forward in your life, you don't really picture them not being there at some point. So I think that's hard for me,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
also think that I think what makes me sad, maybe this is a personal thing too,
Hmm.
but Co turned 10 because he's
Hmm.
almost about to be 11, which, ugh, it smacked me that if you put it in kid years and you compare it to a human, right? You're like, I have a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's not a 10-year-old, it's like an 80-year-old.
Yeah.
And then it put in the perspective of how short a dog's life is. And then that unfairness of it made me so sad to be like, 10 years is a long time, but it's such a short time,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And so that grief of, why can't I have you as part of my life like my friends and like a
Yeah.
human would, like longevity, like why do you age so quickly? That started bothering me and then I got in my head about it and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what makes it sad too. And I thought about that when I got the puppy. I'm like, dang, like there's gonna be a point where you're only like 8, and I'm gonna be like, I've had you for 8 years, but now
Yeah,
something's like I have to worry about your age, and that
right,
messes with me too because it's just such a short period of time.
right.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it like grief is something we talk about in so many areas of emotion, right? In connection, in loss, I mean, in anger, like it's like a covering emotion because it encapsulates so much stuff. I mean, just potential, right? And a lot of times with loss of animals, it's not something that you're really ready for. Many animals don't make it to the end of their life just because they're old, And I think that a lot of times when I've encountered loss of a pet or something like that with a friend or a client, it's been something unexpected or something that kind of you were waiting for, but the way that it happened is really difficult. So, I mean, like, even in my own family, we just lost a family pet that was very unexpected. And it wasn't the pet that we would have expected to pass away first because they were younger and there was an illness that kind of came on suddenly. And that is something that is emotional. You want to do everything that you can. Like, it's a very financially difficult process, also. There's a lot to weigh there. So, that's part of it too. You have this like sudden loss of control, also because the animals like often can't tell you what they're experiencing the way that a human can. And in some ways, I feel like that might even be a little bit tougher to digest and kind of process because at least on the same plane, if you have a person going through a very serious illness, they can at least express discomfort. They can tell you what they're experiencing and ask for specific help. Whereas an animal, a lot of clients that I've dealt with and even families, like I just didn't know exactly how to help them. I didn't know what to do because I didn't know what they were going through. I feel like that's hard. That's a loss of control where you really just, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, yeah, I feel like I'm like the thoughts of looking at your dog
Hmm.
and being like, you probably have no idea what's going on, and I'm about to
Yeah.
put you down,
Yeah.
like, is different than an older person, unless an older person's mind's gone and stuff like that, right? But it's like we eventually know as older people, it gets to that point, you basically have stuff written down, what you want, how you want to go, whatever, right? So when that time comes, it's more like a peaceful experience of like, this is what
Yeah.
you wanted and then you were expecting or whatever, if that's the case. But
Yeah.
with dogs, it's like, hey bud, we're going to the vet,
Hmm.
and your dog's just thinking you're just going, and then you're like, I'm actually going to euthanize you because you're sick and you have no idea
Hmm.
that this is your last day on earth. And like that
It's sad.
literally kills my soul.
Hmm.
And like you're like, there was like a TikTok that some guy put of like, dogs, like they can't fend for themselves. So they're leaning on you for legit everything, right?
Yeah.
And then you're making all these decisions and you're like, oh, my baby doesn't even know what's going on.
Right.
Like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of why there is a lot of controversy about that. And, that's not necessarily a rabbit hole we need to get into, but, there is a lot of controversy about like the natural life of a pet despite suffering and like comfort care and that kind of thing versus making the decision to put them to sleep, like that. I feel like for some people, it feels like that gives you some control back, but there is pushback from many people about, well, but we're making decisions that are not ours to make. There's guilt associated with that, just like there's guilt associated with every decision that you're going to make for your pet that may or may not have the outcome that you want once they start getting older. Like, do we treat certain things? Do we give them
Right.
comfort? Do we go down the route of, all these crazy treatments that may or may not actually help, may make it worse for them? They're getting older. What can they tolerate? It's so hard.
Yeah, I thought you mentioned it earlier, and I don't know one person who this doesn't cross their mind is like the financial aspect, and depending
Sure.
on the dog's age of like my client said that yeah, our dog was 8,
Mm-hmm.
but the vet's like, oh, there's a 50% chance your dog will probably still have issues after the surgery and might make it,
Yeah.
and it's 20 grand.
Yeah.
So then you're thinking about, okay, so what's my dog's quality of life going to be? Is that worth it? And then you're like, you're put in a situation of like, nobody should have to make this decision.
Yeah.
And then it falls back on finances too, because think about it. The thing I hate, but it is the reality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I think animal people get it more than, there are people, which I totally get. All of us are different. There's people that aren't animal people, right? There's people
Yeah.
that are just like, I don't connect with animals and dogs like that. Like,
Yeah.
or I don't really care to have my pets or like whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I understand this, but it's also like a weird thing to me is we're put in situations with that with animals, but goddamn, if it was your child, you would fucking pay $1 million, no
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
So then I'm like, why is our brain so like, oh, we're making this decision for a pet
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's the thing about pets aging fast too, is
Sure.
like we make those decisions for our elders,
Mm-hmm.
but our pets are like our children because we raised them from like babies, but then we're put in this weird situation of like, here we need 15 grand, 20 grand, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like contemplating it when if it was like, here's my kid, you'd be
Yeah,
like,
you would do it.
say how much, like money's not an option at that point.
Right.
So I do think that's an interesting thing. That's where there is the brain difference of like humans versus animals is different.
Sure.
But emotionally, it's still fucking hurting.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what do you advise clients when they come in and they say, I feel very invalidated because people don't ask me how I'm doing, or they think that it's not a big deal and I should move on because it was just a cat, it was just a parrot, it was just a chihuahua. What do you tell people when they come in with that very valid feeling, like I just went through something and people just are telling me to get over it?
I would say, anyone, if they come in and we're the therapist, right? Like, I
Yeah.
totally validate that for anybody. I'm like, oh my God, like, I
Mhm.
would be perishing too, like,
Yeah.
whatever. But again, it's back to that support. Like,
Mm.
I know, and I think it's hard, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the hardest part too. I think it sucks. I'm going to say it sucks. It sucks that majority of the population is not going to reach out like they would if it was a person.
Yeah.
But I think that's when it's our job of the person grieving to reach out and be like, hey, like I would do that.
Yeah.
If and when Co dies, if I'm not okay, I would be like, Gabby, like I'm struggling today. I really miss Co.
Yeah.
And I would ask you for that support, right? Like
Yeah.
even if you weren't checking on me, because I'm aware people don't check on people enough.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes I'll say that to my sister, like we don't talk about it enough, but I'm like, hey, like, are you still missing Duke? Like, are you okay? And she's like, no, I
Yeah.
struggle every day. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Dude, that sucks." And I just casually might insert it and bring it up. But if not, it's like, because I personally know nobody else is really asking her because she has no more dogs now and blah, 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 blah. So everybody's like, oh, she moved on. She's happy. But that was like her soul dog. So I'm like, like, how
Yeah.
are you? I think it's important for you to reach out to people, but a lot of times people don't, right? They're like waiting on people to check in with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And I will say that social media is a good way because when we posted that video,
Mm-hmm.
the responses I got of people being like, "Oh my God, yes!" Like that was like
Yeah.
one of our top ones that had the most comments about pet
Yeah.
grief. And people sending their pictures of their little fucking babies when they were alive, and like this was
Yeah.
and like I loved that TikTok. That's why I like this topic because it was like such a collaborative thing when we put that up.
Yeah.
Of like it was like this zone of people grieving their pets and sending pictures of the babies, and I was like, this is like a little grieving zone for everyone that like gets it. And there are like so many animal people that get it, so it's like find
Mm-hmm.
those people.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say that's my answer to that question. You have to be the one to maybe reach out or find a group of people who really gets it too.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. And I also think just with any grief episode, I'm going to say this. Grief is a journey, not a destination, right? And I think people get very bogged down in the immediate feeling and how am I going to get through this? I'm wallowing in it. It's really hard. And that's not to say that it's not valid, that it's not something you're going to struggle with. But reaching out to people for support is going to help you see that you're not alone. There are other people who get it. There are other people who can give you some perspective, who can share with you. Like that was such a beautiful comment section because like how many
Mhm.
people said, "Hey, this happened to me last week." And there were people chiming in with each other like, "Yo, me too. Like it's been
Yeah.
a week and I'm struggling." And I think it's so healing to see that you're going to have your own experiences. There are going to be things that are difficult. Everyone's going to have a different trigger, but at the end of the day, like there is life with good memories and there is life with the experiences and the pictures and the sharing and the supporting each other. So, it is important, I think, to show the hopeful side of it. And, I've also taught my girls from a very young age, loss is part of life and death is part of life. And it happens, it's natural. This is not like you get a pet and you are delusional and think they're going to live forever.
Right.
It's something that we accept and sometimes have to radically accept when it's traumatic and sudden and really difficult. But there's a way to kind of prepare for it. Like I know that these are my years with my pet. Let's make their life amazing. Let's do the most that we can for them. Let's really like enjoy it and soak it up. And I don't know, I think it's hard because you're never quite ready. You're never going to be quite ready, but I think there is a difference when you're prepared and you understand like a dog has a shorter life than a person. I'm not going to be 90 with the same dog that I had when I was 20, but that's part of my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I also feel like it's just there's just sadness around as much as you're saying like yeah, like grief is one of those things that you're like it's gonna come and go.
Yeah.
But like you said something earlier along the lines, and I think a lot of people do this because it's an animal and a pet, and they have like these voices that are like, I shouldn't be this sad, or people
Yeah.
don't get it, so I'm just gonna shut up and I gotta move on, just like
Hmm.
they do with other emotional stuff that we
Yeah.
isn't healthy. It's like I'm like always trying to give permission to people to like just cry that shit out. Like
Yeah.
cry for the week and then yes, the crying will be less and then cry when you're triggered and move through it. And that's the best way to deal with it too because like a lot of people with why I'm saying the pet stuff is because they feel like I've heard so many I had a clients once and like that's how she started her session. She literally granted she didn't know I was animal obsessed either, but she
Yeah.
was like before we start and it's like she was going to do a quick check-in like before we start and her sentence was I hate saying this out loud because I'm going to sound dramatic, but we had to put her dog down and then she started sobbing and I'm like the fact that she just told herself she was going to be dramatic
Yeah.
is what I care about more. I'm like, how is that dramatic? Like,
Right.
I started tearing up. I'm like, oh my God. And as soon as I got a little teary eyed, she was like, it was like she just started flooding more. And I was like, oh my God, girl, that's not a dramatic thing. Like, that's like a voice in your head. Like, animal grief is no joke. And as soon as I gave her that permission, it's like she
Yeah.
took the whole session processing it. And I was like,
Mhm.
I know this isn't really where you were trying to go today, but it seems like that's what you needed because you were trying to make it this
Yeah.
like minimized thing that's like, I don't want to sound dumb and like I'm being over dramatic being this sad about my family dog.
Right. Yeah.
And like why are we so programmed to think it's like this dumb thing? Like I shouldn't be this sad.
Right.
Be sad, why would you not be sad, I guess? Like but people have this weird concept about it's just an animal.
Hmm.
So that's what bothers me about it. Like those voices are people trying to downplay that they shouldn't be feeling a certain way.
Yeah, because honestly, who is gonna be right? Who's gonna be able to tell you the extent of your sadness and the extent of your grief over that? It's nobody else's experience but yours, and it is okay to feel it very deeply just because it's a pet. Like there's a girl that I know that her cat was like a million years old and he just passed away. And I not once in seeing all these pictures that she posted of him was I like, wow, it's just a cat.
Right.
But I'm sure some people do have that,
Yeah.
that feeling, which is so interesting. And I mean, if you get it, you get it. And also, some people are not programmed to really allow things like that to take up space. Okay, well, life must go on, just without my pet. Okay. I get it. And I get where you can kind of rationalize the mindset of, okay, well, it's not my kid. I just have to keep going on with my life. I have other responsibilities, but you're allowed to be sad.
Right. I mean, you saw my fucking journey. I'm like, I think it's interesting for me because I am surrounded by animal people and me just seeing the difference in us animal people, even individually and how we're attached to animals, it's different. Like, my sister obviously obsessed with her dogs, horses, whatever. But like you saw me with the baby chicks. Like
Yeah.
as soon as these baby chicks were mine,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I am their mom.
Yeah.
Like I am their mother. So when they started dying,
Yeah. It's
I
hard.
was I was in such shock and I did have that moment where I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had these baby chicks for 3 weeks and one of them dies and I'm hyperventilating like oh my God. And
Yeah.
my sister's like, Alessia, it's a chick. Like, that shit happens. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, do you not have emotions, bitch?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I am their mother, and this helpless little baby was in my hand,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to revive it back to life.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, again, it's interesting to me. People have attachments to different, even different animals. Like this situation, like
Yeah.
to her, it's like she's like that with her other animals, but like chickens, not as much. Whatever. But to me, it's like there's something about an animal being so helpless
Yeah.
that it's like the saddest thing ever. But again, I could hear myself programmed to be like, I'm kind of embarrassed telling people, and that's why I started talking about it more because I'm like, you guys, I told it to because I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, I'm so in shock how beside myself I am that I got that attached to a baby chick. I was in my mind like, whatever, if they die, they're baby chicks. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But to me, it was.
Right.
So how do you just be like, okay, I just have to. I literally went to an acceptance. Like, anytime one of these chicks, if they die on my time, I'm gonna have this grieving process I have to go through because that's obviously just how my emotions work.
Yeah.
Me trying to sit here and be like, this is so dumb, you're crying about a freaking chick,
Mm-hmm.
is just me judging myself. And now I'm actually like, now I tried to hide it, like, okay, it's not a big deal, but I'm like, it literally is, guys. Like, I'm not okay, and I need to just
Mm-hmm.
cry it out, and then I felt better.
Okay, I have an existential question for you because, yeah, buckle up. This kind of just occurred to me, and I don't know how you would therapize this, but let's just play it out. Do you think that people struggle with pet grief be above and beyond the fact that it's part of a family, like part of your day-to-day life, because it is an exposure to death that we are not comfortable with? Like you're experiencing a life cycle, right? You're experiencing a loss that is not really part of your life or a human relative's life, but you're still seeing life come and go.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I feel like my mind initially, which I think I would need more processing on this, but I think initially it was like that verbiage of, I think the same when people are older,
Yeah.
the helplessness that you have,
Yeah.
and knowing that this person or animal's life is coming to an end and there's literally nothing you can do to help.
Yeah.
When you, I think when you love somebody something, or you're attached to somebody something, and you have no sense of control to make them feel okay, be healthier,
Mm-hmm.
accepting that and letting that go is like one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
So I think, and I do think it's like the death part. It's not like, hey, I'll see you again. It's like, it's something that's super final.
Yeah.
And I think that's scary. Like, that is the reality of death, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, my dog's gonna go. It's not like I'm gonna be like, okay, pal, see you
Right.
again in a month. It's like, oh, this is like,
This is it. It.
this is
Yeah.
it. Like, I never get to hang out with you again. And like
Yeah.
that is the biggest grief, right? When people die and we're like, I will never see you. That's why grief is the hardest emotion. Like, it's literally
Yeah.
an end, and you can't. Grief is that the one example I give to people when they don't understand emotions, and I'm like, what do you say to if everything's fixed at solution focus in therapy? When people are like, oh, there's a solution for everything. I'm like, really? What do you do when somebody fucking dies?
Right.
What's the solution?
Mm-hmm.
Bring them back to fucking life?
Yeah. Right.
That's literally
No,
the solution.
nothing.
But sense, and that's the key component of why grief feels so big, because there's literally we try to trick ourselves like there's solutions and how do we cope with stuff, and then boom, you're like, oh, I never get to see this person I'm obsessed with and I love and that's been part of my life ever again, and that feels so scary.
Yeah.
That's why grief sucks. So I think there's a mixture of stuff in the question you
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah, I mean, I could argue that position because I think there are very few humans that are inborn with the comfort around death and comfort around loss. We as humans like certainty and we like finality and we like closure. Closure is a myth. I will die on that hill.
It is.
Okay? There's no such thing because closure implies that you are getting answers to everything in a way that satisfies you, right? And I talk about this a lot with clients with breakups. Like, what do you mean you're still talking to your abuser? What do you
I
mean? Oh,
want
you need
closure.
closure? You're never going to get that. You're never going to get it because what you're looking for, it doesn't exist. You're looking for comfort in a dangerous place. You're looking for comfort in like for what? So with death, you're never gonna feel satisfied with that because there's an element that is now missing. There's an element that's gone that you're not getting back. So when people say, oh, well, why am I so uncomfortable with loss? And especially with a pet who can't communicate a lot of things and you don't really get that goodbye. You get it on your end to some extent because you're saying it, but there's no real reciprocation, and that's just natural because it's an animal. So I think it's really hard to be 100% okay and at peace with pet loss. That's why. There's no such thing as, yeah, that was comfortable and peaceful and tranquil and I'm a-okay. The reality is you're probably not, and it's okay. Like, it really is okay to sit in that suck and miss them and realize that they were deeply ingrained in your life. Like, that's very legitimate.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I also say, like, when you know how grief comes in like different folds, where it's like I know when people have passed away in my life that I'm like, obviously I'm super sad and heartbroken, but I'm not like in this like pits of my stomach grief, because you day to day I didn't really like, maybe I didn't see you day to day. I feel like you feel grief heavier when, and this is why I think it's hard for pets and animals for people, of like, yeah, my great aunt passed away, and like I'm sad and very grieving about it, but
Sure.
it doesn't feel as big. I would say that's more secondary grief. Most people are like, I feel sad for my mom because she's going
Right.
through so much.
Yeah.
I'm sad that this person passed away, but the reality is day to day I saw them once a year at Christmas. So it's like your brain's not like
Adjusting.
adjust it day to day. You're like, but it doesn't impact my day to day. Now, when
Yeah.
something impacts your day to day, the grief feels bigger. So that's why I think, like, one of my clients is like, is it bad that I'm like more upset about my dog passing away than like one of my relatives? And I'm like, well,
No,
the reality is no, because your
it's
dog was like your life. You took care of your dog day to
yeah.
day. Like, you're invested in his life, where your uncle so and so, like, you're like, exactly, I don't have a very big connection with him. Yeah, I'm sad about my family dynamic. I'm grieving all this other stuff, but I didn't have a relationship with him. And day to
Sure.
day, when he passed away, nothing about my life changed. And I think with
Yeah.
pets, that's the thing that hits like us hard, is your day to day literally is surrounded by caretaking
Right.
them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people feel like they're like crazy for feeling that horrible, and I'm like, literally, like you said, triggers all day. So
hmm
I think it's sad, and I think people feel like super alone in it. That's why I like talking about it, because
Yeah.
that sentence of people acting like, one of my clients, it was her chickens too, and her chickens got slaughtered.
Uh,
Which is, again, I think it's sad too, because it's like normal. That stuff does happen to like, your animals that aren't like domesticated animals, but
mhm.
she was like, I literally, they're 7 years old, and I literally raised them from chicks, and she was blaming herself, because she's like, I went on a trip and something happened with our coop, and like the raccoon, I just went out and they were all like beheaded, and I was like beside myself, and I'm like, girl, I
Uh,
would have been the fucking same. But it's the reality of like, when she said, she's like, it's not just these chickens I bought, like I raised them from like little
yeah.
babies, and like they were like in my house and this, and but
hmm
her first sentence was like, I know I'm gonna sound crazy and this is gonna sound ridiculous,
Right.
and I don't know why I'm crying right now. This is so dumb to be crying about. Like, they're just chickens. And I was like, I feel you.
Yeah. Right.
But like, say that to a normal lay person. She's like, but I sound crazy when I go to work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm crying because my chickens died. And they're like, chickens? And I'm like,
Right.
I get you. Like,
Yeah. Right.
because it's like, it's not just a strange chicken in your yard. You're like talking about like I think there's like that motherhood that comes with a lot
Yeah.
of these things
Sure.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah, pet freaking grief. So sad.
Yeah. It's hard, but it is valid and
So,
it's legitimate, and it is okay to be sad. It is okay to be sad months down the line and at random times. Like, it's really okay and
no
normal.
matter what animal it is. Because
Yeah.
like, before we end too, I think it's important. That's why I keep bringing it. Like, I brought up the chickens, but like my best friend, Amanda,
hmm
again, I don't have this attachment, but like you like what you like, right? Like, she has reptiles, and like two of her snakes died randomly, and like she was beside herself.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, oh, it's just a snake, but it's not. Like, to her
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was like her pet and her life and her
Mm.
animal. So I
Right.
think a lot of times people have these like biases of like animals you
Yeah.
should or shouldn't be sad about, which is true, right? We connect to different
hmm
ones, but
Yeah.
it is valid. It doesn't matter if it's your hamster or your snake or your
Sure.
horse or your puppy or your pony
hmm
or whatever other weird freaking animals y'all have, because some people have some weird animals, and
Sure.
it's still a living thing.
Yeah, right. Well, I will say though, the hamster death lore is A1. It's
What is
really interesting.
what does that mean?
Hamsters usually don't die of natural causes. They die really weird deaths.
Interesting.
And I don't know why, but so if you have hamster death lore, I certainly do. Um, Share it with us because,
Yes.
there's something to be said for causation, I guess.
Now I need to hear more about this. You need to go
Yeah,
post a TikTok. This like
yeah.
that is the TikTok.
Okay, that is our follow-up TikTok to this episode because I think we need a little levity. But anyway, let us know if you need more content about pets and loss and grief of any kind because it is such a huge thing, especially around the holidays. Um, Missing people, pets for the first time on a big day is really difficult. So we are here for you, and yeah, it sucks. If you've been through
It
it or are going through
does.
it, we're sorry.
And you're not alone because I
Yeah.
will cry with you if it is like a tadpole. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm your girl to call.
Yeah. This is the place. This is a safe place.
Safe place. I will open those floodgates with you. Okay? All
Okay,
right, guys. Until next time.
lots of love. See you next
Remember I
time.
did the heart. What are the kids doing now?
Oh, I don't even, how do I even do it
I
with
don't
my
know how to do it.
hands? I don't know. Like this.
I can't even do that.
That's a weird Gen Z heart or whatever.
I have. What is this? What did I just? Whatever. We're not doing it. I'm freaking
We're
too
too old
old.
for that.
So
Looks like a scorpion.
I'm like,
Okay. Mwah,
all
mwah.
right, bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.